It was a chilly November evening when it happened, one of those nights when the wind sounds like distant laughter and the shadows in the corner of the room seem to grow legs of their own. I had been sitting in my armchair, sipping the last of my whiskey and enjoying the quiet. My wife, Anna, was out of town visiting her sister, and I had the house to myself for the weekend. A rare treat, I thought, to be alone with my thoughts. The house was silent except for the occasional creak of the floorboards. Old wood settling, I told myself. But as the evening wore on, a strange unease began to settle over me. You know how it is when you feel watched, the way your skin prickles at the back of your neck, like something unseen has brushed past you. I laughed it off, convincing myself it was nothing more than a trick of the mind. At around 10 o'clock, I decided to head to bed. The upstairs hallway was long and narrow, lined with faded family portraits, whose eyes seemed to follow me as I walked past. I shook off the thought and climbed into bed, determined to sleep off this foolish unease. But sleep didn't come. I lay there for hours, staring at the ceiling, listening to the wind batter the windows. It was past midnight when I heard it, a faint tap. Tap, tap, coming in from downstairs. My first thought was the wind knocking a branch against the window. Nothing unusual. I rolled over and closed my eyes. But then it came again, sharper this time. Tap, tap, tap. It wasn't a branch. I told myself not to be ridiculous. Maybe I'd forgotten to lock the kitchen window, and the wind had pushed it open. That's all. But when I forced myself out of bed and padded downstairs, the sight that greeted me stopped me cold. The kitchen window was locked. So were the front door and the back. Every point of entry was secure. "Hello?" I called, my voice cracking in the stillness. There was no reply. I turned to head back upstairs, but just as I reached the base of the staircase, the tapping came again, this time from behind me. I whipped around, heart pounding. The sound wasn't faint anymore. It was loud, insistent, coming from the direction of the living room. Against every instinct screaming at me to run, I stepped forward, one shaky foot after the other, until I reached the doorway. The living room was empty, or so it seemed. That's when I noticed the curtains, swaying ever so slightly, though the windows were closed. My breath caught in my throat. Someone, or something, was behind them. I reached out with trembling fingers, clutching the edge of the fabric. In one swift motion, I yanked it aside, and nothing was there. For a moment, I felt almost foolish. The adrenaline drained from my body, replaced by relief. I laughed to myself, a hollow sound in the empty room. It had all been in my head, I thought. Too many late-night crime novels, too much whiskey on an empty stomach. And then, I turned around. Standing at the base of the stairs was a figure. It was tall, impossibly so, its head nearly brushing the ceiling. Its face, or what should have been its face, was featureless, smooth as polished stone. The figure tilted its head, as if studying me. And then it began to move, slowly, deliberately, descending the stairs with an unnatural grace. I couldn't move. My legs felt rooted to the spot, my body frozen in a paralyzing mix of terror and disbelief. The figure stopped a few feet from me, its head tilting again, as if amused by my fear. And then, without a sound, it raised one long, spindly arm and pointed toward the kitchen. Something compelled me to turn and look. The back door, which I had checked not 10 minutes earlier, was wide open, swaying gently in the wind. When I turned back to the figure, it was gone. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? The next morning I found footprints in the frost-covered grass, leading from the back door to the woods beyond. They were long, narrow, and deep, as if made by something much heavier than a person. Anna came back the following evening. I didn't tell her what happened. I didn't tell anyone. Some things are better left unsaid, better left buried. But every so often, on nights when the wind howls and the shadows seem to grow legs of their own, I hear it again. Tap, tap, tap.